people like McElroy, whose custom is the suspension of any real moral instinct in the promotion of their liberal globalist agenda.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Faith and Reason. We've got lots of good news for you. Did you see Tucker Carlson talking positively about the sacrament of confession, or Chris Pratt talking about God? Or, and you probably didn't catch this one, up in Tyler, Texas, from which was taken their heroic Bishop Joseph Strickland. There are now billboards up thanking Bishop Strickland, I think much to the chagrin of those who were there. We're also going to tackle Cardinal McElroy's installation in Washington, D.C., which just happened, as well as what's going on in Syria from our expert there, Frank Wright. Frank Wright, Father Charles Murr, so good to be with you.
Hello again.
Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Father, if you could start us off with a brief prayer, that would be awesome.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Let's start off with this. I mean, this is really fun. Tucker Carlson talks with the star of The Chosen, Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus there. And while interviewing him, Carlson, who's officially Episcopalian, he says this: "I'm not a Catholic, but I've always thought that confession is the coolest thing they do." Watch this.
I'm not Catholic, but I've always thought that confession's the coolest thing they do.
It's a gift, man. It's a lifesaver.
Of course. When it became psychotherapy and you put like an atheist with bad judgment on the couch across from you, I don't think we lost something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the human need to connect, to unburden yourself, you know what's wrong, by the way. Most people know. You know. You don't need to be a Christian to know what's wrong. Everyone knows. Inside you know when you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And to say it out loud, to articulate it in words, is to rid yourself of it to some extent, I think. And
then for the sacramental part of it, that's where the healing comes in. That's where the spiritual healing comes in.
So if you head over to LifeSite, you will see that this is actually not the first time that Tucker Carlson has talked positively about Catholicism, leading some to think that he might one day join the church. And reporter Stephen Cox at LifeSite says, Carlson has repeatedly taken an interest in the Catholic Church over the past several years. In a September 2022 interview, Father Vincent Lampert, a designated exorcist of the Archdiocese of Indianapolis, speaking with him on the Catholic Church's ministry to people suffering from demonic possession, Tucker interviewed him and thought that was very interesting. Also, in August of 2024, Tucker said, "Some of my dearest, closest friends are Catholics." And he added, "They are the most fervent, sincere, on-target Christians I know." And he also told German Cardinal Gerhard Müller during an interview that I'm not a Catholic, but I am interested. So that indeed is very interesting. And Tucker Carlson would be great to have inside the fold, as it were. Would you not think so, Father?
Undoubtedly. There are a couple secular talking heads that I enjoy tremendously. First is Tucker himself and Matt Walsh. But when I listen to Tucker, you know what's frustrating about him?
What's that?
To me? He's already there. He's there. And he doesn't realize it. I'm at that age, gentlemen, when I've started talking back to televisions and radios and computers. And I said, for goodness sake, man, take the step.
Yep.
That final step.
Hopefully someone listening will know him and give him the little nudge that he needs. Take him to a traditional Latin Mass or something.
Exactly. Tell him to come see me. I'll take care of it.
Carlson's typically and quite habitually disparaging about his Episcopalianism. You know, he often makes it the butt of his jokes. And it seems to me that whenever he does talk seriously about Christianity, he talks about Catholicism. So I think, Father Murr, you're right. Maybe you should reach out to him. He seems like he is ripe for the picking.
I've tried.
We have another Hollywood star, actually, who's come out, as it were, in favor of the faith. Listen to this. This is Chris Pratt. And actually, he was sort of trying to make good on a promise to give God everything. But watch this. This is Chris Pratt.
You know, I was baptized Catholic, and we weren't a big church-going family. And I had a few different moments through the course of my life where I really felt called to God and gave my heart to Jesus. The most impactful moment was when my son was born. He was born early and had some health scares, and in that moment really made some deals with God, you know, and as you do when you're praying. And I felt like, if you save my son, I will give you everything. I'll give you my life. I'll give you my platform. I won't be ashamed to talk to you, talk about you. And he did save my son. And I've been trying to make good on that promise ever since.
So can you believe that? That's Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World. This is from an interview that he gave to the Christian Post. He was speaking with Leah Marianne Klett from the Christian Post. And here's what he said. I care enough about Jesus to take a stand, even if it costs me. It could cost me everything, but I don't care. It's worth it to me because this is what I'm called to do. It's where my heart is. He said, I'm a father of 4. I want to raise my children with an understanding that their dad was unashamed of his faith in Jesus and with a profound understanding of the power of prayer and the grace and the love and the joy that come from a relationship with Jesus. You don't hear that a lot from people in entertainment, but it's who I am. I'm not going to hide behind it. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. And he concludes, he says, he really saved my son. And that was the moment, and he was talking about his faith, was cemented. And so he said, my heart softened, my faith hardened. And that was the moment that I was like, moving forward, I'm going to give my platform to God. I talked to another Hollywood person recently who's going to be featured on my show. And she too told me, basically, she was in Hollywood, big in Hollywood, and came to a point where she said, nope, I'm going to give my platform to God. So really, really beautiful thing.
There's also something extra beautiful in his conversion or the deepening of his faith. And that is, as a father to a son, he understands the depth of love in that relationship, which can only help him understand the Father and Jesus Christ's relationship to one another. Anyway, I congratulate him because he really is in a position to understand that beautiful relationship, that magnificent relationship between Father and Son, which is the basis to our Trinitarian theology and philosophy, right?
Yes, well, a principle is a belief that you're willing to suffer some loss to defend, isn't it? And people forget that too, quite commonly. And one thing that we shouldn't overlook is that we are not past the time when Catholics will be persecuted and will suffer a loss for refusing to abandon their faith or for publicly professing it. I mean, in our benighted Isles, it's quite common for Catholics to suffer losses such as damage to their career or even arrest. Certainly the threat of it, for refusing to abandon their Catholic faith in public. So it's inspirational to see this from someone with a standing like Mr. Pratt, and I welcome that. I'm sure he will move many people to show their own convictions, and it's by this example that we can change civil society into something less hostile to the message of Christ.
Absolutely. One thing he said was, even if it costs me everything. And I think we all have to get there. Even if it costs everything, we're willing to lay it on the line, and that's what'll move mountains. One other beautiful piece of news before we get on to the other regular news, which of course is not that good. But you know how Bishop Strickland was removed from Tyler, and it was such a horror for the church to experience, but God in his providence allowed it. And it allowed a bishop who was sort of sequestered, if you will, within his diocese to be given to the whole wide world. And since then, Bishop Strickland has really become a voice for the faithful, the true faithful, that is, around the world. He's traveled a lot around the world as well, but more so than that, he has been able to be a voice for the faithful, defending the faith like no one else could, because he's freed of those responsibilities. So in one way, whereas I guess they meant to squelch him, they gave him to the world and gave him a pulpit like none other. But the Catholics in Tyler were not yet finished with him. As you know, many, like 700 families moved there because of him. And while there might have been no fanfare from him, from the officials in the diocese there, even after the new bishop took over, there has been some voice from the faithful. A huge billboard in downtown Tyler saying, "Thank you, Bishop Strickland." That has caused a lot of joy. It was also, by the way, in an ad in the newspaper there. And we've been getting all sorts of reports of a lot of joy and thanksgiving at this move, paid for by Catholics in Tyler through Life Funder. What a joy to see that. And I'm sure it put a smile on the bishop's face. But Father, I would think that given the circumstances there, that might have raised some ire in the chancery. What do you think?
I think it also put a smile on the face of our blessed Lord. Don't forget his face in all of this, right? Yes, and I'm sure that, there's a problem with the left. There are many problems. But one of them is that they can't enjoy. They can't laugh. Not really. They laugh at, and they criticize and mock. But that's not laughter. That's not a sense of humor. But there's a lack of joy in their hearts.
Before I continue, are you enjoying this video? Do you appreciate the news at LifeSite News? Well, then please consider supporting us. At LifeSite News, we're not just reporting the news, we're changing lives every day. And our content equips people to stand for life, faith, family, and freedom in a world desperate for hope. But freedom isn't free. It costs to bring you life-changing content. If you believe in this mission, then join us. Go to lifesitenews.com/donate and be part of the fight. Because truth changes lives and freedom is worth fighting for.
Faithful clergy are a tremendous inspiration to Catholics, and it's wonderful to see this displayed in the Diocese of Tyler. Just to remind us all that how much faithful Catholics love clergy that answer their need for a Catholic teaching and a Catholic priesthood. And this is a testament to that fact. And I think it's a wonderful thing to see. Again, another inspirational move. And of course, having had the privilege of speaking to Bishop Strickland myself on this show, I can say that he was an inspirational presence, and I can see very much why people would come out and fund such a thing. It's a great thing to see.
Frank, now we've got a hard thing for you to tackle because it's all over the news now. It started really from postings on X, people both being tortured, but then also people calling out for help. I want to play this clip of this fellow, one of the first clips to beg for help from the West. Watch.
Covering my face now because I don't want anyone to see my face, because if they see me, they will kill me. I'm from Syria. I live now in the city of Latakia. Please, please, please. The media is not showing you anything. The terrorists are killing everyone, children, women, teenagers, old people, just killing. There is more than 100 bodies in my village now. Even in the city, they are just taking the children and the women and kill them. I don't know what to do with my mom and my two sisters. Please, you gotta help us. Nobody's talking anything about it. Not the social media or the TV channels. They are all hiding the truth. They are saying that they are killing the resistance, but this is end up 2 days ago. Please, you gotta help us. They have been killing people since 2 days until now. Hundred of bodies are thrown in the street, in the villages, and in the city of Syria. We are not allowed to go out of the house. They just come to the houses, take the people, kill them outside of the house, and take all the phones so nobody record or do anything. Please, you gotta help us. I have two sisters. I don't know what to do with them. If it's okay for me if I die, but not for my two sisters or my mom. One of them is a teenager. Please, you gotta help us. Nobody's talking anything about it. Human rights, United Nations, anyone, America, anyone, just please help us. You need to do something about it. The social media is not showing anything. Most of my relative people are dead in my village. There is bodies in the street. We are afraid for the little kids. There is nobody left. Like, we are being killed. All of us, all the Alawite and the Christian For God's sake, if you believe in humanity, if you believe in any religion that you want, just please, you need to save us. You need to do something about this. The TV is not showing anything, not Al Jazeera, not any TV channel. They are all covering what's happening now. Until this moment, there is people coming from another from another cities from Syria, like Idlib and Hama and Homs. They are coming just to kill people. They are still coming until now and killing people randomly. Not women or children or anything. They kill everybody. They are demons. They are not human beings. And nobody is talking anything about it. I don't know what will happen to me in the next hour. Or please, human rights, United Nations, anyone who can hear me, just please save us. You need to do something quickly. We are running out of time. There is no more Christian or Alawite to kill anymore. You need to save what the rest of us.
Frank, tell us what's actually going on there and what's the root of this? Like, how is this happening right now? We're seeing it. I know all the Catholics around are praying, but for the first part, it was, is this really real, what I'm seeing? Is it kind of faked? It's definitely not fake. It's real. But tell us what's going on.
When the Assad government was deliberately removed under an operation that was planned for a long time, and it had been attempted for almost 20 years by the former regime in the United States, it was many commentators warned that what would follow this would be an unleashing of persecution of ethnic and religious minorities, including the Alawites, who were the minority from which the Assad family and many of the former government were taken, and also the historic Christians of Syria, the first century Christians, some of the earliest Christians in the world, of course, whose population has shrunk dramatically since the outbreak of the war, which again was instigated by the former US regime.
Let me just clarify here. So what you're saying is the Biden administration and before him, the Obama administration and the Clinton administration were all targeting Assad in Syria, even though we know he was very close to the Catholics, that they were very, very supportive of Assad.
Well, both Bashar and his father Hafez al-Assad, he ruled Syria since the 1950s, were very protective of Christians and Catholics and guaranteed their safety without fail. Now, what's gone on here is that you have seen the terrorist group, basically called HTS, which is a rebranded form of ISIS, which was the Al-Nusra Front, and which itself was born from Al-Qaeda. The United States effectively backed al-Qaeda terrorists to form an insurgency in Syria, which has resulted in them seizing power now. This began after Hillary Clinton and David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, decided to topple Colonel Gaddafi in Libya in 2011. After they killed him, a massive migration crisis swept through Europe. As Gaddafi had warned, Europe will be flooded with African migrants, as it is now. After this, Hillary Clinton's State Department shipped Gaddafi's army's heavy weapons to Syria to arm these rebels, which had now rebranded themselves as the Al-Nusra Front. So the United States government, under the previous liberal global regime, toppled a government in Libya, destroyed that nation, took its weapons, sent them to Syria to guarantee the outcomes that you're seeing today. This is where these people come from. This is where they've got their money from. This is where they've got their weapons from. And if you want to look it up, there was an award-winning article called The Red Line and the Rat Line by Seymour Hersh, which explains the long and dirty history of the United States involvement in what is now the Syrian terrorist government from the Clinton and State Department under Barack Obama. So this is a scandal that's been unfolding for more than 10 years and that is no accident at all. And as Stephen Cox's excellent article points out, the regional beneficiaries of the collapse of the Assad regime, as it were, are obviously the Israelis and the Turks. The Turks have also been moving in, but it is notable that ISIS has never attacked Israel. And in fact, that many of the members of HTS have repeatedly stressed to the media that they thank Israel for attacking Syria and that they see Israel as its friend. And in fact, Israel has admitted to ministering medical aid to these so-called Syrian rebels, who are head-chopping terrorists, and also arming and supplying them in the field. So the people you're seeing committing these atrocities have been a de facto ally of Israel as well.
I consider myself a good friend with Bashar Ja'afri, who is a relative of the president of Syria, and also he was the ambassador, Syrian ambassador to the United Nations. Brilliant man. I spoke to him quite clearly about the situation of Catholics, particularly, but Christians in generally, in Syria. All the support in the world. He told me things about the Catholic community in Syria that I had no idea of, and the tradition and how they're respected, and everything that Syria has done for them, and that Assad has done for them personally. I also know many Syrians, especially in different places in the United States, who speak nothing but good about the Syrian president. Just no complaints at all, and how wonderful he's been to Catholics particularly. And they were worried about him being toppled. The toppling came from us. We're looking right now into the U.S. aid situation. There are a lot of answers that are going to come out with an investigation, a thorough investigation of that organization, and we have toppled many governments for no good reason. And I think this is another one for no good reason, and they've unleashed chaos.
For U.S. residents, creating a will has never been easier. Thanks to My Legacy Will, an online platform free of charge, you can now create your own will and choose to include LifeSite News in it. Specify where your funeral will take place, the number of masses to be offered for your soul, and how your estate will be distributed. We would be deeply grateful if you remembered LifeSite News in your will. Visit mylegacywill.com/LifeSite News. Thank you for your support, and may God bless you.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that one of the reasons why the Assad regime, as it were, fell so quickly is because it had effectively been destroyed by sanctions placed upon it by successive US governments, and also which had permitted the occupation of the only real industrial area by what became HTS, by basically former al-Qaeda terrorists backed by the CIA. So Assad's regime was starved of money, of agricultural produce, oil, and industry, because, of course, the United States permitted the occupation of its oil fields and illegally extracted the profits from them as well. So Assad's regime was strangled to death by the United States on purpose, and the terrorists that have taken power there have basically been cultivated and armed by the US since the late 2010s. Again, no accident.
One of the remarks that President Trump made, I thought it was a very poignant remark, when he was talking about the situation of the world in general. And he said, let's not forget the United States' own involvement hasn't been lily white in many of these situations. And he was certainly right about that. I think a very good investigation of this and many other things through this present scandal is going to bring to light a lot.
President Trump pointed out that the people now in charge of Syria were the kind of people that flew planes into buildings in the United States in the September the 11th attacks. That's what he said.
Yes.
But it's also important to remember that WikiLeaks today have republished an email from Hillary Clinton in 2012, which predicts that not only would toppling Assad benefit Israel, but it would also unleash exactly the kind of sectarian killing, the murder of Christians and Alawites that we're seeing today, the horrific murder of them, savage killings that really I would advise you not to look at because they're so disturbing. Hillary Clinton predicted that this would be the outcome of the toppling of the Assad regime, but said that they should proceed anyway because it would be beneficial to Israel.
Definitely, we have to, for our part, the Americans have to work within their government to try and right that, because there is some responsibility there. But also around the world, Catholics must pray for our brothers and sisters who are being just massacred. Hear those pleas, and I think right now in this season of Lent, it's a good time to offer our prayers, our sacrifices, our sufferings for them, and the plight that they're in right now.
Just to make it known, there's nothing being said about this. There's no outrage. It's not even a subject on the news, on the international news. It's just quiet. This is unacceptable, totally unacceptable. It has to be made known.
On the ground in America this week, we've had also some devastating news, particularly for Catholics, in that Cardinal McElroy, the criminal cover-upper of abuse, was installed as the Cardinal Archbishop in Washington, D.C., probably the most prestigious see in the United States, and giving him sort of kingmaker status, if you will, in the U.S., even though Cardinal Superch in Chicago with Cardinal Tobin as well. I mean, a triumvirate of just very strange stuff in the church in the United States. There was a demonstration outside the installation mass on Tuesday where a number of Catholics joined, some notable ones. Dr. Janet Smith was there. But in addition to Dr. Smith and also Michael Hitchborn, our own Doug Mainwaring was there. LifeSite reporter Doug Mainwaring, as well as cameraman Walter Willits, was there to capture what was going on. There was also Rachel Mastrogiacomo. She is the abuse victim. So she was abused. In fact, it was satanic ritual abuse by a priest in San Diego, which is the former see of where Archbishop McElroy was. And when he came into the diocese, which was after her abuse, she assumed that the priest in question was dealt with, gotten rid of, put away somewhere. No, he was left in circulation. And only did now Cardinal McElroy deal with him when she filed a civil suit. So when it got into the courts, that's when he dealt with it, not when the abuse was reported. This is really horrific, and for that reason, she held up a sign at his installation saying, McElroy was criminally complicit in my rape. Very strong stuff.
Very strong stuff, because it is strong stuff. The first time I heard of this case was through Dr. Janet Smith. She told me about it, but I thought she must have misunderstood. It was so horrific. She had to be misunderstanding something. No, she understood perfectly well. I later on was in contact with Rachel herself. No, this is exactly what happened. I don't know how this doesn't bother the consciences of these men. I don't know how it doesn't bother them, but it doesn't seem to. I don't know. It is this horrific, absolutely horrific. Satanic ritual with and it's mind-boggling, and it should be dealt with seriously, and it hasn't been.
We began this broadcast with a talk about principle, and we talked specifically about Catholic principle, the principle of upholding the Catholic faith. And Father asks, how can these men in good conscience do this? I think it's because they belong to a tribe whose custom is the suspension of any real moral instinct in the promotion of their liberal globalist agenda. I think, simply put, the same reason that you see barbarism openly entertained and promoted throughout the world, and you see people like this McElroy and Rupnik, of course, and a whole host of others tolerated and even sheltered by the Synodal Church, is because they are of a piece. Their tribe is not that of the Catholic faith. We should distantiate ourselves from these people. Their tribe is of the liberal globalist tribe, and for them, the promotion of their agenda worldwide is the only real principle that they're willing to sacrifice anything for. Not that they do, because even when they commit the most heinous crimes or are complicit in them, they cover for each other. I think that's what we're seeing here. It's obscene.
I will tell you this, there is a silver lining on this, because even though this is some of the most horrific abuse you'll ever hear of, satanic ritual abuse, and then cover up, and then the very cardinal who does the cover up being promoted to the one of the most prestigious sees in all of North America. Nevertheless, God works all things for good for those who love him. And that poor victim of such horrific abuse has become such a faithful, beautiful Catholic, forgiving even her perpetrators. that it's almost a miracle to see. And that lady, Rachel Mastrogiacomo, will be in Rome, specifically to highlight her case in front of Pope Francis. As LifeSite has done for the past 12 years now, we run Rome Life Forum once a year, every year, to point out the concerns of what's going on in Rome. If you want to join us in Rome, November 3rd and 4th this year, please go to romelifeforum.com to sign up now. Bishop Strickland will also be there, as will Princess Gloria von Turnen-Taxis, and there'll be many more on the roster there. So join us if you can, romelifeforum.com, November 3rd and 4th this year. Father, if you could close for us with your blessing, please.
Dominus vobiscum,
Et cum
spiritu tuo. Benedictio Dei omnipotent, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, descendet super vos, et mane et semper. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father. Thank you, Frank. God bless you both. And God bless all of you. And we'll see you next time on Faith and Reason.